Ah, yes, security breach. It's a flawed, well, I wouldn't call it a flawed masterpiece, it's just flawed. And there we go. I can check off things related to this game off my daily to-do list. But we're not even talking about the game today, we're talking about its DLC. So, how's it going, everybody? I'm Burrhead2, welcome to a B2 review. Fun fact, the B in that name stands for, but why'd you call it that? That's a stupid name. I don't know. I just kinda felt like it. So you probably want to know how my reviews work then, right? I mean, they're pretty simple. I try to come with 10 categories I believe best present the game. It's going on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being the worst, 10 being the best, and 5 being rather average. Which is what I would say, if that's how it's going to work today.
Psych!
I mean, this is just DLC, right? So scoring something like graphics, and it's probably not different that much from the base game, is kinda stupid. So instead, I'll be choosing any amount of categories I feel relevant to the discussion. So that's enough beating around the bush. I think I'll dive right in with our first category. 2 words. Running Simulator. Although I guess that describes most games, the point I'm trying to make here is the majority of the experience taken up by running from object to object and doing whatever this is, I don't know, using your cosmic mind power so well as doing your bidding or something, I don't know, and then over to this thing, you do a puzzle, and congratulations, you win! Yippee! Hope you enjoyed that because that's 95% of this whole thing. Holy crap, get a new gameplay loop! Of course, I should mention other minuscule aspects of the gameplay, such as the Conduit minigame, and the I Bet You $10 was inspired by a ripoff of the Observation Duty games. Let's be honest here, a 15-second long minigame is long to distracting the horrors of my own life, much less playing the same gameplay loop for the last 30 minutes. Okay, it actually isn't that bad. When I beat the DLC, I was fine playing the same thing over and over. It wasn't until I went back to collect everything that I started getting tired of it. But the point is that this really standard has something else to do a part of the time, and minigames just aren't meaty enough to be of any real significance. It's like having one singular gummy bear on your scoop of ice cream, and the gummy bear gets hard because ice cream is cold, and it gets hard to eat. And I still need to mention this thing. I think I saw it on TV once. I don't really remember anything about it other than I thought it was kind of weird. And there's this thing. Can't forget about that. Without the mask, you can't actually interact with any of the nodes, so you need to have it on to actually, play the game. But there is a downside. This guy. If you have the mask on for too long, he appears. If you keep it off for even longer, you die. Although he doesn't kill you himself, he just gets Chica to do it or something. But 9 times out of 10, you can just take the mask off and you'll be fine. And speaking of animatronics, if you let Mr. Entity Man get too close to you, we'll spawn in and provide extra charms for 20 seconds before you get far enough away, and you turn your back on them, and they despawn. The gameplay just feels kinda shallow and it feels almost half-baked in my opinion. It's just the same thing over and over, the distractions don't distract. My life still stinks, and that's worthy of a... Ruin uses a very linear level design compared to the more open-ended structure of Security Breach. It's basically like going from Luigi's Mansion to Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. This also breaks the whole thing into different sections that you go back and replay. My, that's a strange coincidence. The level design does seem to try its best to include some variations. It's like having the same cake 8 times over, but each one has different flavor of frosting. I do appreciate that, I appreciate the variation, but it's still the exact same cake 8 times over no matter how you slice it. But I aired that grievance in the previous section. I do like the level design, I appreciate what it's doing. And I'm teetering between 2 different numbers. I mean, it's decent, maybe good. And you give it the high number. You can't say I'm not a nice guy. Unlike the base experience, I believe this actually has some kind of difficulty progression. Darn it, I should wait to save it tomorrow. I really appreciate this game today. I found this thing wasn't too easy and it wasn't too hard, maybe with the exception of the Bonnie Bowl section. I might want to have a talk through. I thought it's a good idea to have some mini music man constantly following you around, especially a thing with the main gameplay loop requires you to stand still for a moment and around something, and sometimes you double back the path you just took to, go somewhere else, and they're always chasing you, and it's super quiet, and there's nothing you can do. Oh, that's cool, you can see down there. What?! But as a consolation prize, if you die to certain things, they won't respawn. Sure, it makes it easier, but I like it. It's quite considerate. So I think that it's deserving of a... Yeah, I know, this is a stupid category, but everyone just calm down, there's some legitimate discussion to be had here. Namely, that the replayability factor is extremely... How about we discuss the positives first? Let's say hypothetically that you really want to play the part you kill Rox and Wolf over and over and over again, like me. I do it every Monday morning, it takes my day off right, and it's made Monday my favorite day of the week. Thankfully, a chapter select has made this incredibly easy. Just open up the chapter you want to play and take solace in the fact that you don't need to play the whole thing over again to get there. It's quite nice. But you know what isn't nice? Everything else. Games are more narrative heavy are less replayable because once you finish the story, you got what you came for, right? You can back up and go home. Of course, the opposite is true then. Games that prioritize more moment-to-moment gameplay are more replayable because they're not constantly dangling a carrot in front of you. And dangling a carrot in front of you is all this thing ever does. Hey bro, listen, I need a little help here. I need you to save me, so I'm gonna remind you every 30 minutes of this walkie-talkie, or through telepathic communication because reasons. Just to make sure you didn't forget, I need you to save me. Hey, good job with what you're doing. I need you to save me, by the way. You know, it's like really dark down here, so I need you to save me. You're gonna save me, right? Oh yeah, you're totally gonna save me because I need you to save me. And then you get to the very end, you get the big reveal, and congratulations, you win! Now what? You got the carrot, now you have no reason to come back. Really, this is just abysmal. There is one more complaint I have, but I think it's better suited to a different category. So I'll give this one, 2 words.
Give me back my eyes!
Mandatory jump scares. Oh my, this thing love its mandatory jump scares. They just don't stop. Burdening the player with 100 jump scares is one way to make them afraid. They'll never know when the next one's going to happen, but the first chapter alone has at least 7. More depending on the exact definition of jump scare. That's a little excessive, don't you think? The non-mandatory jump scares aren't much better. They're basically just fancy cutscenes where you happen to die within a second. Now, I kind of loathe jump scares where something quickly oscillates in front of your face, but at least that's better than what this is. Sure, it's very cool to watch, but I don't think they serve their function very well. But enough about the jump scares. There are other things to talk about, like atmosphere.
Look at this place. I mean, what is the theme here? Underwater? It's boring! Food! Water! Atmosphere!
SpongeBob references aside, I do think this could possibly, maybe, perhaps, have a slightly better atmosphere than the base game. Maybe. There's certainly a place in the horror genre for dirty, gaudy places. I do think this utilizes the concept, but I can't help but think it could have done a little bit more. Looking at this, I'm reminded of something the developer said at some point, I forget when. They said they're going to make the environments darker, that they're going to remove the hiding spots, and that they're going to make the gameplay more about patience and timing, maybe? I don't remember exactly what they said. But, you know, they did what they said.
He did it.
There's definitely parts of the gameplay that encourage waiting, and waiting is my favorite gameplay mechanic. Buddy and I talk about gameplay. There aren't any hiding spots you can interact with, and the environments are darker, but you can still navigate them without a flashlight. They're not that dark, and the flashlight does a pretty good job at piercing the darkness anyway. Back to the atmosphere, with the mask, I don't think much really changes. The mask also does a really good job illuminating the areas itself, making the whole lighting thing even more moot. And while I'm talking about the mask, it's got Jim Carrey, so that's cool, but I don't know if I can have to watch it again. There's some maybe kind of spooky ambience that plays sometimes when you have the security mask on. I don't really know. I can't say I care that much about this stuff. Speaking of, we should talk about the character designs. There's ew, that's disgusting. I hate robots. Mutilation, eye sockets, and, tall. And oh yeah, that guy. If character design was a category, I'd probably give it a 5 out of 10. It's cool, it could maybe be better. You know, maybe I give it a 6. Again, it's cool, but again, I don't really know. In closing, the jump scares leave a little to be desired, the lighting leaves a lot to be desired, the atmosphere is, it's alright, I guess, and the character designs are decent, asterisk, footnote, maybe. So that's a bugs. They're few and far between. At the very least, it's quite competently made. Of course, the animations are pretty good, so go ahead and play another jump scare. What in the world? All the cutscenes are pretty fluid, and speaking of, you remember that thing I was holding off on? Yeah. let's enter the magical realm of imagination for a second, and let's say you're playing this for the first time, and you're playing it and you think to yourself that you 100% this. Okay, whatever. So you beat it, you gotta go through again, but you get everything, so you gotta go through a third time. And let's say you don't have a guide, or if you do, it's incomplete. Eventually get to the point where you complete most of the chapters, but you still have a few left. So go through again and again. Eventually you're gonna get sick and tired of watching these cutscenes, listening to characters rattle off their well-delivered script, and you're gonna think to yourself, gee, I'm sick and tired of watching these cutscenes. I'm gonna press E to skip them. So you take your finger, hover over the E key, press down on it, and then nothing. You can't skip the cutscenes. Now, don't get me wrong, I like cutscenes. The moment you like, take your fingers off the buttons and turn off your brain and watch animators do the magic, but I've already watched them like 5 times, especially when they take like 3 minutes, I'm probably gonna wanna skip them. Let's hope that the first chapter or the catwalks chapter aren't the ones that keep missing things, because holy crap, you could literally order a pizza the amount of time it takes to get through the opening cutscene of the catwalks chapter. It doesn't get any faster the 6th time you watch it. Okay. I'm calm. In spite of all the good things I said before I started ranting, this one thing is just so... I mean, you can skip the cutscenes in the base game. Even as less cutscenes, the structure doesn't encourage you to love watching the same cutscene 55 times, but you can still skip them. I mean, I'm calm. It's not that big of a deal. This really isn't that much of a problem, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to give this category a... And that's the last category. So here's a brief moment to check over the scores. And now that's over with, we have a total score of 29 out of 60. But I'm used to giving scores out of 100, so this doesn't mean much to me. Doing some quick math puts it at 48.3 repeating out of 100. As for any final thoughts, well, I thought the whole emotional boxing wolf death scene was kinda stupid. It's really necessary and out of place. Riddle me this, Batman. Why should you feel bad about killing someone that spent its entire existence trying to kill me? There's no live to it at all, and it's not like I've done something like this a few times prior. But all that grief means nothing because she comes back. Why? Because, let me think about this. Let's see, period 21. I'm going to assume x equals Deus Ex Machina. Raise the power of marketability. Multiply by fan service. Yeah, I have no clue. She doesn't even have any eyes. She shouldn't be down there in the first place. But it's not that big of a deal. It's not like anyone plays this up for the plot anyway. It's like saying you play Mario for the plot. Anyway, so you reached the end of the video. And that means the video was going to end.